I'm about to share with you all of the hidden costs and fees associated with a container build and some of the information they're not going to tell you when you make that down payment. From towing and delivery fees, foundation, and site preparation, I'm giving you all the details you need. Don't make these expensive mistakes, and here's where you can cut some corners to save some money. Here's my backyard and what it looked like before the container home build. Just to get that process started, I needed to clear the land and make sure it was fully leveled in order to start building the foundation. Me and my contractor, we worked on this project together from start to finish, and I can't wait to show you how this all unfolds. Building the foundation for the container home was the most tedious part of this entire project, but I'm happy that I was able to find a contractor that was willing to work with me. You have options when you want to build the foundation, but we decided to do the cement slabs instead of doing just one huge cement slab, which would have cost thousands of dollars more than what I spent. I spent about 600 in labor and 600 in materials. If I went the other route, just building a huge cement slab, it would have cost a lot more because then you need to get a cement truck involved and they need to come and fill the area with concrete, and you're going to be buying a lot more concrete than you would if you just stick with this method right here. So we built these little squares, fortified it with, I don't even know if that's the right word, but fortified it with rebarb and then filled those slots in with cement. And it saved us thousands of dollars, or it saved me thousands of dollars. This process is a little bit more tedious because you have to make sure that everything is completely leveled. So when they plop the container home on top of the foundation, it's leveled. You know, it's a lot more complicated this way, I think. Like in hindsight, maybe it would have been easier, but more expensive to just build one huge cement slab. Towing cost was $300 and the crane was $500. But quite frankly, that's a deal because the company where I bought the container from, they were trying to charge me between $2,500 and $3,500 to plop it on my foundation. So definitely do your homework. In one sense, it would have been a lot more comforting to know that I could walk into the place where I bought my container from and they would take care of everything start to finish, A to Z. But quite frankly, it saved me thousands of dollars just jumping through some hoops to find better pricing or better price points with locals that maybe know how to operate a crane or know how to build a foundation. Because the foundation and the crane and the towing, it would have cost me at least an additional $4,000 to $5,000 if I went with the company I bought the container from versus doing my homework and just doing my due diligence to make sure that I'm getting fair prices for these types of jobs. One thing I really didn't like about the company I bought the container from, to be quite frank, is they really wanted me to use their resources, their people, to do the container drop, to do the foundation. And because I didn't, it was kind of like a really hard process because it was like pulling teeth to get information. For example, when I built the foundation, since I didn't use their guys, it felt like pulling teeth to get information so that I could build it myself. So the direction and the information being provided wasn't very forthcoming. And then the guy that dropped off the container, the one that actually towed it to my property, he's also the guy that ironically has a crane to deliver it and do what this guy's doing. But because I didn't want to go with the company because they were charging about 2,500 to 3,500 versus only 500, they try to play like scare tactics, like telling you things like, well, you better make sure because, it's a liability. They need to make sure that they're going to sign a waiver saying that they're responsible if they screw up the container. Well, you know what? Quite frankly, it would be the same thing if that guy screws it up. He's going to be liable. Don't listen to the BS. Don't give in to the scare tactics. Just do your due diligence, do your homework, and you will find the right people for the job. The last pain point I wanted to share was they tried to make things sound so overly complicated when it came time to drop the container off because they knew I wasn't going with their crew. If you're on the west side of Puerto Rico and you need help with finding some of these resources or outsourcing some of these tasks, I got you. And the sad part is, I knew right away when I bought the container, like when I started asking more detailed questions, like how much does it cost to build a foundation? How much does it cost to hook up the electric and the septic, et cetera, et cetera? They didn't really seem so forthcoming. So I knew that from the get, I was going to have to find other people to get these tasks done, unfortunately. I think part of the problem is it's a business. They're trying to sell you something. They're trying to sell you a container. They don't want to tell you or disclose all of these costs up front because you're going to soon realize it's going to cost a lot more than just the asking price of the actual container. The container itself cost me $33,000, but with all of the other said costs, if I went with the company I purchased the container from, it would have been at least 5 grand more, if not a little bit more than that. I'm just happy that I used my brain Okay. I'm happy that I didn't just jump the gun and say, yeah, go ahead, because I don't know anything about this type of work, and I feel like for a lot of people that are investing in container homes, maybe they just want to make a good investment because they're trying to start an Airbnb business, or maybe they just want to have a container home put on their property to earn a little bit of extra income every month. And I think that they use that to their advantage because once you buy the container, well, now you're locked in. Now you need to use their services, or you need to scramble and find somebody else that can provide these services for you. Otherwise, you're going to pay an arm and a leg. So in a way, you're paying for the convenience of having a one-stop shop. And because the company that I purchased the container home from has their own network of people that work on foundations and tows and cranes, it's benefiting them. I would think that they have some sort of a general outline so that you know what you're getting yourself into. The cost breakdown of what it costs to build a septic for this container, how much it costs to hook up the electric, et cetera, et cetera. But that just wasn't something that was provided. And I knew then and there that I would have to do my due diligence. So just make sure you do that. The salesman himself, he was very, kind and professional, but at the end of the day, I know how to read between the lines, and I knew that if I didn't do my homework, this project could have easily cost me thousands of dollars more than it actually had to. So far, I'm $36,000 into this project. Worth mentioning, the place where I purchased the container home was asking $1,200 just to unfold the container and mount the kitchen cabinets. I paid half of that. These are just little things to look out for. You can do better. You can save money. You do not need to go with the company where you buy the container. Keep in mind, these costs do not include setting up air conditioning, furnishing the place, and I'll be doing all that in a separate video. Also, I consider myself lucky because the contractor that I found was willing to work with me to show me how to do these things, to learn these skills. So these prices don't reflect the actual cost because I was also doing the manual labor myself. If you need help getting these things started or getting them done, especially if you don't live on the island, feel free to reach out. I may be able to help. Look at this guy. What a life. So you're the one that's been shitting and peeing all over my grandpa's house, huh? This guy